I never thought I'd be here, writing this story for strangers on the internet. But I have to tell someone. My heart is shattered, and I'm not sure where to go from here. It started with a kitten. A kitten my grandmother gave me before she passed away. You see, this kitten was everything. It wasn't just a cat. She was a symbol of my family's history. A direct link to the past that I've held on to tightly. She came from a long line of purebred cats that we've kept in the family for generations. Dating back to the late 1800s, the cats are special to us. And even my great-grandmother had created a family crest with one of them. The thing is, my fiancé, who I've been with for 5 years, didn't get it. He never understood why these cats meant so much to me. He thought I was supporting breeders and contributing to the whole kill shelter animals thing. But it wasn't like that at all. We didn't sell the cats. They stayed within the family. This kitten, a 2-month-old from my grandmother's cat, was the last piece of my grandmother's legacy that I had left. I didn't realize how much it meant to me until she disappeared. 2 months ago, my grandmother passed away. The grief was overwhelming, and I found comfort in this kitten. She was a constant reminder of my grandmother, of all the love and memories we shared. But it wasn't just me who felt the loss. My whole family had a special connection to these cats. After my grandmother died, the kitten became my anchor, the one thing keeping me grounded. That's when the problems started. My fiancé's attitude towards the whole thing shifted. I came home from work one day to find my kitten missing. I freaked out. I searched everywhere under the couch, in closets, even outside in the yard. Now, this kitten, she was only 4 months old, so she liked to hide. But never for too long. She wasn't an outdoor cat. I was convinced something terrible had happened. I asked my fiancé what happened. He said she must have gotten out through the doggy door. I couldn't believe it. This wasn't just any kitten, this was my connection to my grandmother, my family. I was shaking, my heart racing. I couldn't stop crying. We spent hours searching the property, flashlight in hand, calling her name. But we found nothing. When we finally came inside, my fiancé just shrugged it off. He said, "We'll find her tomorrow," but he didn't seem that concerned. Looking back, that was when everything started to fall apart. I felt completely abandoned. I'm standing there, crying over a kitten, and he couldn't comfort I needed. The more I thought about it, the angrier I became. How could he be so cold? How could he not see how important this was to me? I tried to talk to him, to explain how much this kitten meant to me. But he didn't understand. And his dismissive attitude cut me deeper than I ever thought possible. It didn't help that he kept making comments about how I overreacted or how it's just a cat. But for me, it wasn't just a cat. It was a part of my family's legacy. And the fact that he couldn't see that made me question everything about our relationship. I couldn't understand why he wasn't more upset. Why wasn't he crying too? Why wasn't he helping me put up missing posters? It's not like we lived in the city, where people could just easily see the signs. We lived in a rural area, and she could be anywhere by now. And yet, he didn't want to help. I finally had enough. After everything, I went to the local humane society and asked for help. I even contacted a friend who had a tracking dog to help us search. Maybe this was my way of holding on to hope. But I wasn't ready to give up on finding my kitten. That night, I couldn't sleep. I spent hours sitting in the dark, hoping for a miracle. My fiancé didn't seem to care, and I didn't know what anymore. The man I was supposed to marry my partner. The person I trusted was now someone I barely recognized. I felt so alone, like I couldn't rely on him for anything. I had no idea what would come next, but I knew that something had to change. There had to be more to the story than he was telling me. And then, the truth started to unravel. The next few days were a blur. I reached out to everyone I could think of. Neighbors, friends, local vets, even random people on social media. I wasn't going to let this go. My kitten was out there, and I was going to find her. Then, a few days later, something unexpected happened. I was on a call with a friend from the Humane Society when I got an alert someone had found a kitten, matching her description in a small town, about 30 miles away. The twist? They'd taken her to the vet to get a microchip scan. I couldn't believe it. It was my kitten. I immediately jumped in my car and called my fiancé on the way, desperate for answers. How did she get so far away? I told him what had happened, and it was like a switch flipped. His tone changed. He didn't seem mad anymore. He seemed worried, even remorseful. I had never heard him sound that way before. He promised to meet me there. When I arrived at the vet's office, I could barely breathe. There, she was, my kitten. She looked fine, except for a slight ear infection. But I knew she was mine the second I laid eyes on her. The vet confirmed her identity, but the real shock came next. The woman who had brought her in was a close friend of my fiancé's mom. The same woman who had been in contact with my fiancé's mom just days before. My heart sank. I knew then that something wasn't right. This wasn't just some random person finding a lost kitten. This was planned. I turned to the woman, and she immediately became defensive. She's mine, she insisted. I've had her for days now. I've been taking care of her. I could feel my anger building up, but I stayed calm. You don't understand, I said. She's not yours. She's Mimi. I've been looking for her. I've reported her missing. She's microchipped, and I can prove it. The woman backed off a little when I pulled out my paperwork. The vet assistant called the police, and within minutes, 2 officers were on the scene. The situation started to get tense. I could tell the woman wasn't ready to give up without a fight. But she had no choice when the police arrived. As we waited for the officers to take statements, I asked the woman what had happened. She said she woman and my fiancé's more the king. The story she told didn't add up. She said she'd been in contact with my fiancé's mom for a while, and after I lost the kitten, she just decided to buy her from her. But the most shocking part came when she admitted that my fiancé's mom had told her I wouldn't even notice the kitten was gone. That's when everything clicked. My fiancé's mom had taken my kitten. She had sold her to this woman, and now here we were, fighting to get her back. I turned to my fiancé, my heart racing. We need to call her out on this. She needs to be held accountable. But my fiancé, he was quiet. He looked devastated, like he was finally seeing the truth about his mother. The mother who had constantly belittled him, manipulated him, and made him feel less than. He had never really told me the extent of his relationship with her, how emotionally abusive she was, how she would criticize him, how she'd always made him feel inferior. It all started to make sense. His cold behavior towards me, his refusal to help me with the kitten, was it all because of his mother? The police were able to take statements from both of us, and they said they would investigate further. They suggested we file a report for theft. But that was something we'd need to do in the city where my fiancé's mom lived. The officer said this wasn't a high-priority case, and they weren't sure anything would come of it. But I wasn't backing down. I had my kitten back, and now I wanted justice. When we left the vet, my fiancé was quieter than usual. I could tell he was wrestling with something. We went back home, and he finally opened up to me. He told me everything about how his mother had been emotionally abusive, about how she controlled his every move, about how she had always made him feel small. I never knew how much I was letting her control me until now, he said. I feel so stupid for not seeing it earlier. I thought I could just avoid conflict, but I was wrong. I never realized how toxic it all was. I could see the weight lifting off his shoulders as he talked. He wasn't just talking about his mom, he was talking about us. He was apologizing for not being there when I needed him the most, for pulling away when I needed his support. But what shocked me even more was when he admitted he was scared to stand up to her. I've always been afraid of what she'd do to me if I stood up for myself, he said. She's been a part of my life for so long, and I don't know how to cut her off. We spent hours that night talking. I told him that I needed him to be strong for me, that I couldn't keep doing this alone. I needed to know he was in this with me, that we could face these problems together. He promised me he would do whatever it took to fix things. But I could see the doubt in his eyes. I didn't know if we could ever truly fix what had been broken. The next day, my fiancé called his mom. She didn't pick up. He tried again, voicemail. Again, he texted. No reply. It was clear she was avoiding him. I knew something wasn't right, but my fiancé was adamant that he would keep trying. Update 2. A few days later, we drove up to see his mom. We weren't sure what to expect, but we were determined to confront her about the kitten. And when we arrived, everything exploded. She was furious. She accused us of stalking her, of attacking her, of trying to ruin her life. The conversation quickly escalated into yelling and insults. It was like she was trying to provoke us into a fight. I saw my fiancé tense up, his face blanking out like he was shutting down. I was about to lose it when my mom stepped in. She had enough of my fiancé's mom's nonsense and grabbed her arm, twisting it to stop her from lashing out. That was when the neighbor came over to see what was going on, and things took a turn. My fiancé's mom screamed, telling the neighbor we were attacking her, that we were harassing her. The neighbor didn't know what to believe. And my fiancé cops, claiming we were threatening her. It was a mess. My fiancé's brother started texting him, accusing him of betraying the family. I felt like we were on the edge of something huge. But I wasn't sure what would come next. I just knew one thing. I wanted my fiancé's mom out of our lives for good. Update 3. It's been a few weeks since everything happened. My fiancé and I have been to therapy together, and he's been working through a lot of his past trauma. His mom, she's been silent. I'm still processing everything. It's been a roller coaster of emotions. But at least I know one thing for sure now. I can't ignore the red flags anymore. My fiancé's mom may have taken my kitten, but she's taken so much more from him. And it's time to let go. I have my kitten back. She's Safi. And, for now, that's enough. As for my fiancé, we're still working through things. I'm not sure where we'll end up. But I'm hoping that together, we can receive unbroken. We've been through a lot, but at least now, we're facing the truth. And that's all I can ask for.